Well, good evening, my friends. Kevin the Comic Doctor coming to you with another live CGC unboxing. And today we're also going to talk about female comic book characters. Hey, look, I'm a comic book fan, and so are all of you. Do we really hate these characters? Do people think we hate these characters? We're going to talk a little bit about that later on today once the unboxing is complete. Guys, I'm Kevin the Comic Doctor. I'm a comic book presser. I'm also an authorized CGC dealer located way up in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. And like I said, a live CGC unboxing. I have one box for you, a couple magazines, several comic books. I think even some pre-screen returns here. Been a little bit slow at CGC. I don't know what's going on. The moderns, I have a bunch of modern books there, and they are just slow. So, yeah, we got to be a little bit more patient with them, I guess. I'm also sending out I took last week off from doing a CGC submission as I was getting ready for my Black Friday sale. And thanks to everybody who came out to the sale on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. And by the way, the $1 book bins that I have, they're a pain in the butt to create. I'm going to keep them there. If you are in the Oshawa area, you want to peruse my $1 bins, come on by. A lot of great books in there. I'm going to add some more as well, probably for this Saturday. So if you're in the area, come on by and peruse the bins. All right, guys, let's get started here. Where is my overhead cam? It is right there. First, we start off with an ASM number 92 with a cool Iceman cover. I wonder if Mr. Romita knew that only a few years later they'll be doing Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, starring, Spidey and the Iceman. Of course, no Firestar yet. She came a little bit later. All right, next we have... they mixed up all of my submission forms again. Hold on. Oh, what a pain. These are the submission forms, and there's quite a few here. Is this a... Yeah, this is a pre-screen. We've got some pre-screens coming back as well. Okay, we now have a Daredevil number 15. Not a bad grade. In an 8.0. Right there. And the thumbnail that I chose today kind of represents what we're going to be talking about a little bit later regarding female comic book characters. Awesome, one of my favorite Steranko covers. Second appearance, of Polaris. I think the first appearance was kind of a cameo, I believe. This is her first full appearance right here. Awesome cover. We also have a really nice copy of Tales of Suspense 57, featuring the first appearance of Hawkeye, and a 6.5. It's a pretty nice grade for that book. We also have Fantastic Four 49 and a 5.0. And we're getting pretty full here, guys. If you're just getting here now, guys, we have one box today. That's it. If you are new here and you have any questions about comic book pressing or CGC submissions or anything to do with the hobby or fandom, that is, feel free to join us in the chat in just a few moments. I have a few guys over there right now, and you can ask me those questions. It doesn't cost a darn thing. Just ask away, and I can answer those questions to the best of my ability. Of course, in order to take part in our chat, though, you have to be a subscriber. So please hit that subscribe button and ask away. All right, next we have a nice early copy of X-Men number 2 and a 3.0 right there. And now my stack is kind of high, so I'm going to pack these babies away, head on over to the chat room, see who's here today. Only 16 of you guys here today. I started about a half hour early today because I find the 9 o'clock start time, by the time it's over, I can't even think straight. So I figured I would start a half hour early and see how that goes, and then maybe I can even do a little bit more work today. I just cleaned about 4 books before I started, and I've got a bunch of cards I need to get done as well. That's right, I do cards as well. Hockey cards, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you name it, and I do send those off to CGC for grading as well. All right, let's see who's here. Let's go over to the chat room. Pretty quiet tonight, but that's okay. Peter Hurd says, ooh, I think that's my X-Men 50. It could be. I made the thumbnail. Hey, congratulations, Pete. Warren's here. How you doing, Warren? James is here as well. James, a couple of magazines are here. I don't know if one of them is the one you're waiting for. I don't think so, but it might be. PhD and Noob says, hi, how you doing, PhD and Noob? Where is my other bag? Is that it right there? I guess it is. Oh, it's over there. No, I don't want that one. I want the nice newer one. Good to see you. Dave is here as well. Bassoon. Joey Lane is here. Hey, Doc, how you doing? Robert's in the house, too. How you doing, Rob? Good evening. Good evening to you as well. All right, now we're going to jump right into a comic pre-screen. There were, if I remember correctly, these are for John and Logan. There were 22 books submitted, and it seems that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 garnered the 9.8. And the other few books did not. But let's see what we got here. We got an Omega Man number 9 in a 9 point. These are all going to be 9/8. Here we go. We've got a Wolverine number 1 in a 9.8. Like I said, I've been doing a lot more pre-screens lately. A lot of guys like to try that out. Another Omega Man here. Another Wolverine. Let's go like this. Wolverine, another in a 9.8. We have another Wolverine. There's 3 9.8 Wolverines. Number 1s. And 4 Wolverine number 1s. That Wolverine number 1, boy, this book took off over the last few years. There was a time there when it was like $100 book. And then during COVID, it went crazy. I think like $500 or $600 for a 9.8 one of these. I think it's come back down to reality a little bit, but the book is still sought after, and it has maintained a good, its value. It's still certainly more than it was, 5 or 6 years ago, which is pretty cool. We also have an Omega Man, another one, an Omega Man number 10 in a 9.8. And of course, Omega Man number 3. Gotta have an Omega Man number 3. First appearance of Lobo himself in a 9.8. And then, wow. I'm not gonna put them all out because that could be kind of boring, but check this out. Boom! Nothing wrong with that. 4 9/8 of that one, that's great. And again, sometimes guys, Kevin, I don't want to send several of the same issue in because they might judge the books comparatively to each other. Of course, they're going to. But if the books are in really good shape, I don't see the problem with it. Now, if you guys watched a show a few weeks back, I think it was Chris's books, he had also sent a few of those Wolverine number 1s, and one came back significantly lower than the others because the Wolverine, remember the print was a little bit lighter. It looked like as though it had been exposed to light damage, but I really don't think it was light damage. But we're sending it back, by the way. But in comparison to the other books that were submitted, it looked like it was very different. So they penalized the book. Even though the book was in fantastic shape. What's up with that, right? And finally, look at this. 2 more Wolverines. We got about 4 or 5 of these babies in 9/8 as well. The rest, unfortunately, did not cut it. It did not cut it. So those other ones are, they send them back in a box like this. Raw books inside. There's quite a few. So 12 take away 13, about 9 books or so, I believe. If my math is right, maybe not. Kind of tired, but they're put in there. We're not done yet, though. We got a couple of magazines. Let me go back to the chat room. Again, not much happening in the chat room tonight, guys. Everyone's probably chilling out. Not a problem. Let's see here. And Nikki's here. Nikki Blaze is here. How you doing, Nikki? Good to see you. Thanks for popping by. We have 2 magazines left. And then we're going to have a quick conversation about us comic fans being called all sorts of terrible things when it comes to those female characters that we also read about and draw and actually do love in the comic book world. But I'll talk a bit about that in just a moment. All right, here we go. So we got 2 magazines here. Who are these? I forget. Whose are these? Pretty cool books. Here's a nice one. We've got a tribute magazine from 2005 with Christian Bale, and it's a Canadian. It says Canada on it, so it's obviously a Canadian magazine in a 9.4. It's pretty cool. right? And then this one looks familiar, but cannot remember who it belongs to. We have a Hulk 23 from 1980 in a 9.0. That's a pretty cool cover, guys. Check that one out. And that's it. That's it for the box. I have more boxes on their way back, so there'll be another unboxing next Tuesday for sure. Remember, guys, I am now doing the show weekly. I'm not jumping on here 2 or 3 times a week because you know what? It takes time. I figure if I can just come on here once a week on a regular time, you'll know when I'm on, and you can come on and join us if you can. All right, I'm going to put these invoices here, and I'm going to pack these guys away as I talk about the following. The other day, no, I shouldn't say the other day. A few days ago, an article started being posted all over Facebook. And if you're a part of the Facebook groups like I am, you know, guys, I don't talk a lot in the Facebook groups, the movie groups, the comic groups. I just kind of a spectator. You know, like I said, those groups can be awfully toxic. And people get in fights in there all the time. I don't have time for that nonsense. But a lot of people do get involved. And one of the things I have been seeing lately is there's been an announcement recently about a female actress playing a villain in an upcoming MCU movie. And of course, now her name is out of my head. Man, I tell you guys, it's like the witching hour for me. From 8 o'clock on, I am zonked. I can't remember anything. But I'll tell you right now, her name's on the tip of my tongue. You probably are going to get it before I do. But her name has been, Anna Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy. And Anya Taylor-Joy is now is in discussions to be in the new Fantastic Four movie as a villain. They cast Pedro Pascal. I believe it's a done deal. I believe it is. It might not be, but I believe it's pretty close to being done last week. And now Anya Taylor-Joy is being courted to be a female villain. Well, everybody is saying that she's going to be a female Silver Surfer. Here we go again, right? Here we go again. Are we starting to get with this gender swapping thing? And all these fanboys all over Facebook are up in arms. You know, for every 10 or 20 people who are against it, you get the 1 or 2 people saying, "You guys are what's wrong with Silver Surfer does not have to be a male; it can be a female." And anyways, back and forth, and a lot of these people that are for it are attacking the comic book fans and saying that you guys are all misogynists and blah 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 blah. You guys hate women and all this. Thank you, Nikki Blaze got it there on you. Nikki knows about the rumors that are circulating. But I want to come on here and talk a bit about that because nothing can be further from the truth, right? Nothing can be further from the truth. Right beside me here, is it over here? No, it's over there, right there. Right beside me is a whole, and it's a much bigger table filled with a variety of, as you can see there, superheroes that females, superheroes who happen to be female, and I love these characters. And I think all of you love these characters. And I think the problem is we as comic fans are kind of like, we're trying to be gatekeepers, right? We want the comics to be conveyed and the stories told within to be told in such a way that the stories are given to the masses in such a way that it's as close to how we remember it as possible. And what's happening with these writers nowadays, they're taking these characters and they're gender swapping them and they're race swapping them, and I think it's driving a lot of us comic fans a little kooky, and we're up in arms over it. And when we talk about it, why can't you let the Silver Surfer be who he is? People think we really are aggressively wanting to fight this, and we're not. We're just stating fact that the Silver Surfer as a character has been around since the 60s, an established Marvel character, pretty important Marvel character. Why would you go ahead and change that character? And by the way, there's nothing is written in stone saying that that's the case. She very well could be one of the female heralds of Galactus. She could be Galactus herself, who knows? She could be a number of different characters. And Silver Surfer's not really a villain, though, really. He starts out kind of as an adversary, but he becomes good in the long run. But all I'm trying to say here is that I think we are just very protective of these characters that we know about. You and I. Not everybody's a comic book nerd like you and I, right? We know the history of these characters. We know the origins of these characters, and we love these characters. We like to read about them. We like them to be in the stories that we read in the comic books. We want to see them up on the big screen too, but done right, right? But done right, and we also want to see the male characters done right. I said this before. I was a super big fan of She-Hulk. Always loved She-Hulk. Whether she was in her solo series or when she joined the Fantastic Four when Ben Grimm left. I loved She-Hulk. So I was very excited for the She-Hulk show, but it was done so poorly. Wasn't that I disliked She-Hulk. I love She-Hulk. I did not like how she was conveyed or she was depicted in that show. That was my problem. Real Hyperion says, I'm loving the weekly shows. Good. I'm glad you are. James, it's your idea. I like him too. It's easier for me, actually. Nikki says, I don't believe she'll be Silver Surfer. Nikki, I don't think so either. I don't think she will. And any of that gender swapping stuff that has been going on, I think is going to slowly stop. I don't think we're going to see a lot more of that happening. I think these studios are starting to feel the backlash. If the comic fans love what they're seeing out there, their passion and energy will permeate, and other non-comic fans will hear them praising these movies, and they will go and support these movies. But if the fan base is attacking these films, constantly attacking these films, whether it be Star Wars or whatever, or Marvel, that negativity also will permeate. And I think it's going to, in the long run, hurt these franchises. So I think it's in their best interest to, there's look right here on this picture here. There's several different characters they could play with. And then, by the way, this image was much bigger. I just kind of did a little snippet of it, But yeah, who's the one in the upper right? I'm not sure who that is. You're not talking about the White Queen, are you? Is White Queen Miss Marvel? I'm not sure if that's magic or not. Looks like a Star Wars character with her lightsaber to me, but it's not. I don't think it is. She didn't skip rope even once in the She-Hulk series. Not once. There you go. It's true. But she twerked. We all loved it when she twerked. Yeah, right. Hey, John, how's it going? We're just talking about how much us guys despise our female superheroes. On the contrary, nothing could be further from the truth. We do love our female characters. Out of all the images that are on here, like you see, well, she's not Phoenix there. It's Marvel Girl. One of my favorites is Marvel Girl. I always love the Wasp as well, too. She-Hulk's in there. Rogue is pretty awesome, And that's just the Marvel. Elektra's pretty kick-ass, too. Look how Elektra is depicted in the Daredevil series, right? She was friggin' awesome. Nothing wrong with that. James asks, have you seen the South Park's Into the Pandaverse? I've only seen clips of it. I've not seen the whole thing, but I have seen clips, and that's kind of going down that road, right? Where they're pandering the audience, right? They're playing these political games. By force feeding female characters, or like taking Taskmaster, I thought was one of the worst ones. And why did Taskmaster have to be a female? Why? Nucking Fut says, hi, Doc. Here's the thing. Making movies is a financial business. It doesn't make financial sense to make... Oh, I can't read that last piece. To make Silver Surfer a female to the ticket buying, it doesn't make financial sense. I don't think so either. But remember, most people are not comic book collectors like you and I. They're not enthusiasts. Most people don't give a shit about the superhero world. Or, Marvel, DC. They couldn't tell you which characters are Marvel and which characters are DC. Most people couldn't. So if they were to make the Silver Surfer a female, many people wouldn't even know, nor would they care. It's just us. And that's why I'm saying that when you go onto Facebook and you go into some of these groups, and guys are resisting this idea, right off the bat, they're resisting this idea. All of a sudden, you get this backlash from people who kind of like the idea, or would like to see more female representation up on the silver screen. They're then attacking the fans, the OG fans, saying you hate women, or it's nothing. Again, nothing can be further from the truth. It's absolute nonsense. Is it even confirmed that no? She again, Nikki, she is. It is not confirmed. They're in talks. She's apparently going to play a villain. That's what we heard. The comic fan base really do want to enjoy the content being put out there, but don't because it's just not good or true to the characters. That is a great way of saying it. True to the characters. We want to see these characters depicted as truthfully, as authentic, not authentic and true, that's the wrong word, as accurately as possible. It's like when, and we could be wrong sometimes. Like, again, when Hugh Jackman was cast as Wolverine, there was a bit of an uproar because, that song and dance guy, people were up and he's too tall and whatever. He's 6'2". Logan is like 5'5" or whatever, 5'4". What's up with that? But we kind of look, when we saw him up there doing it, we kind of look past that. His height, all of a sudden, okay, the height can go away. Even with the Spider-Man thing, the web shooters coming out of his wrists rather than actual web shooters. As a Spider-Man fanatic, that drove me absolutely crazy. And I'm so happy they rectified that in the MCU, and they kind of poked fun at that in the MCU too, which is kind of interesting. But, I could understand why that had to be removed. Why did you make it come out of his body rather than have him be creative and create web shooters, which is, again, a big part of his character. So that always bothered me. I guess I'm a purist in that regard. I want to see the characters, like you said, Dave, be as true as possible. And we want the rest of the world to see these characters the way we see these characters. And if all of a sudden you're getting characters thrown up there that are very different, it's frustrating. I remember, does anybody, I don't know how old you guys are, I'm going to age myself here. Do you guys remember when The Incredible Hulk was on and they had those spin-offs in I think it was the late 80s. They had, or it could have been the early 90s actually, now I think about it, where they had Thor and they had Daredevil appear with the Lou Ferrigno Hulk. I liked that they were doing that. I liked that they were branching out into the extended Marvel universe. And you know me, I'm a sucker for team ups. So when you had the Daredevil team up with him and you had Thor team up with him, hey man, I'm on board for that. But when I saw that Daredevil was just all in black, I hated it. And when Thor was like tiny, like he wasn't tiny, but he wasn't Thor, right? He was wearing all like traditional brown. It was I was so disappointed because he wasn't being depicted at all like he is in the comics. So that kind of bothered me. I kind of feel the same way about how the characters are being depicted today. If their costumes are wrong, if the characters are if their personalities are wrong, if their if their gender is wrong, if their race is wrong, and when I say wrong, I mean not true to the comics. But I don't like that. I want it to be true. That's all. And if you want to create, or if you want to focus on female characters, well, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of female characters right here. And there's probably 1,000 more to choose from. Go to town. Go to town. Stop taking these key characters that we all love and changing them so adversely. Then when the fans express their discontent, the industry tries to gaslight everyone else to make them into the problem instead of their lackluster products. Well, that's just it. And then they attack us. Again, last week I talked about another YouTuber named Nerdrotic. He talks about that, Dave, till the nth degree. It's so good. His videos, he could be a little bit much sometimes, but he just says right that. The fans are the paying customer. Give the paying customer what they want. And the paying customer in this case oftentimes is right. Like, this is a great thing. They just announced the next 3 Star Wars movies. Now, Kathleen Kennedy's still over at Star Wars, Lucasfilm. They just announced that they're going to do another trilogy with Rey. Who the hell wants to see this? Nobody. Nobody wants to see. The OG fans don't want to see it, and the new fans don't even care. It was such a mess. No one cares. That's how out of touch these executives are, who think that they want to double down on these bad ideas that no one gives a shit about. Again, no problem that Rey was female. I thought that she was a great character. I like Daisy Ridley in the part, but they wrote a shitty story that made no sense, and it was just bad. You left the theaters feeling empty. I did not leave the theaters feeling empty when I was, 8 and 10 and 12, watching Star Wars, the original trilogy. I felt fantastic. And I didn't feel fantastic after watching those new 3 movies. They were terrible. It's like when they made Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin and pulled a switcheroo. They did pull a switcheroo, but they went back. Remember, they went back with Shang-Chi. And even though they pulled that trick, or that kind of trick, they kind of pulled the rug from under us, it was kind of funny. And I really like Ben Kingsley. I didn't care for Ben Kingsley's character being in Shang-Chi as much as he was, but there's actually, I don't know if you know this or not, there is a video on YouTube, which I think was an additional, it wasn't post-credit, but it was an additional feature on one of the DVDs, I think, where after Iron Man 3, the fellow that played the faux Mandarin was arrested, and in this like 5-10 minute little scene, he's busted out of jail by the real Mandarin and taken to see the real Mandarin for impersonating him, right? And then we see the real Mandarin, of course, in Shang-Chi. So you're right. And Michael mentions, the trial of the Incredible Hulk. Thor was in the Incredible Hulk Returns. That's right. And there was one called The Death of the Incredible Hulk too. I don't know who was in that one, if there was any crossovers in that. But those were early attempts, to show us these Marvel characters. I get it. But I was just so disappointed in their costumes. To me, costumes were a big thing. I mean, Lou Ferrigno was a big dude. It didn't really follow the comics per se, the way he behaved, right? The Hulk was a little more verbal than Lou Ferrigno was, in the TV series. But you know what? I kind of forgave it, I guess. But when the Hulk came, or when Thor was shown, and Daredevil, again, a little bit disappointed in the way they did that. So getting back to the topic here, guys, we don't hate these characters. We love these characters. All we want is to see these characters depicted, as Dave said, truthfully. We want these executives to stop shoving these changes down our throats and just wanting us to accept them. We've been following these characters, in my case, since I was 14. Actually, before that, I might not have read comics a lot in my early days, but I was very familiar with the comics. I played with all the toys and all the Mego figures I've talked about, and I did peruse the comics. I did not get into the comics till I was like 14 years old. But at that point, still, then I really immersed myself and got to know all the lore and figured all these characters out. Marvel Age actually was a great comic at that time because it helped me kind of get an understanding of their true origins of the characters. So for that reason, Marvel Age was a great book. They're not worth anything today. Was it Marvel Age? Oh, sorry, Marvel Saga, not Marvel Age. Marvel Saga. Anybody else buy Marvel Saga back in the day? Was I the only one buying Marvel Saga back in the early 80s? Or mid 80s? Yeah, that was a really great book that helped me kind of figure out the timelines and the characters. And you know what? Marvel, the comics, really tried to keep a consistency with their characters and tried to keep a continuity that I really appreciated. That continuity I thought was really, really cool. And I also appreciate that continuity in our movies, right? In our television. I love shows whose continuity is very strong. That's why I always appreciated shows like Star Trek: The Next Generation, because it was in the same, universe as the original OG Star Trek, and it was, but what's it? How many? 80 years later or 90 years later or something like that, I think. Maybe not quite. Maybe it was 80 years later. But there was callbacks to the original series, and I love that. And so, when we get to the movies and they start changing things around, Dr. Death, both DC and Marvel have all of these great characters that would check their message boxes, and yet we get, and why try to fix what's not broken? It's not broken, guys. These characters have been around in some cases for 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, 85 years. Superman. Why change these things? Why change them? Changing a color. Like people were complaining about Henry Cavill his costume being too dark in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Oh, it's too dark for Superman. It's not a Batman movie. It's a Superman movie. It shouldn't be. People were upset about the costuming and even the texture of the film and the coloring of the film. I guess the atmosphere of the film. It was very dark. Yeah, I get it. Compared to something like Christopher Reeve's Superman, right, which was a little brighter. I get it. there has to be some play, I think, with these things. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with trying to make a character a little darker, even a little lighter in some cases, within reason. But that's why you need somebody at the head who can kind of gauge it all and say, okay, you've gone too far. Like, again, I'll bring up Thor: Love and Thunder, which I don't know if you saw that or not. To me, was an absolute disaster. I absolutely loved Thor Ragnarok. I thought Thor Ragnarok is probably top 5 MCU. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Again, there was a great team up in it. Loved it. And then they gave Taika Waititi. They gave him the keys to the castle, and he could do whatever the hell he wanted with the next one. And he made a mess. There was no, they didn't put reins on him, and he went too far. And I think they bastardized Thor, ruined it. And again, let's shoehorn another female derivative character in there. Let's get away from our main. We all came here to see Thor, but no, we're not going to get Thor today. We're going to get female Thor and all these other characters I really don't care about, or not. A lot of us didn't care about. Bad mistakes. Sam's in the house. Yes, sir. How you been, Sam? Where you been? You don't come visit me anymore? What's wrong with you? Holy cow. I would watch, Dr. Death says, I would watch a Disney Plus Storm series or a DC Vixen. Oh, I love Vixen. Great character. Instead of we get Ironheart. Yeah. I think this whole movement with these younger Ironheart, Miss Marvel, that sort of thing. I think, okay, look, let's be honest. They're trying to reach a demographic here. They want the younger kids to kind of get involved here. They want the kids to. But I don't know who they think these characters are going to really appeal to. Because again, Ironheart's not appealing to a lot of guys. Miss Marvel, the new Miss Marvel, is not really appealing to a lot of young guys. Now there are ways to get young guys to be to find appeal in these characters, and I'm not going to get into that here. You guys can read my mind. How do you get young men to be interested in female superheroes, like beyond a good story? There's other cheap tricks to do that, but these characters, they're just not very. They're not likable. They're not likable characters. They have not been. And they weren't very, and I heard, again, I don't buy new comics, but from what I understand, maybe you guys can fill me in on this one. I heard that the comics didn't do very well. Like the Miss Marvel comic series didn't do very well. The Ironheart series didn't do all that well. It's like the Young Avengers type thing. I get what they're trying to do with this whole Young Avengers thing. Nothing wrong with that. But again, I go back to Karate Kid. I'll go back to Cobra Kai. Again, canon. Dr. Death says canon. Right now in Marvel Universe Saga... Right now, in Marvel Universe Multiverse Saga, nothing. What's this? I got this thing that keeps popping up and blocking my feed here. Nothing feels connected where it should. No, because I think they don't know what they're doing. They're all over the place. They're kind of like, do I do this? Do we go here? Do we do this? Let's try this. Let's try that idea. Let's try this idea. Keep your 4 or 5 main characters intact and have them as your soul, the soul of your franchise. Don't kill them off. But as I was saying about Karate Kid with the Cobra Kai, what they did, which I think was an ingenious idea, was they didn't shoehorn these young characters. They didn't shove these young characters down our throats right out the gate. No, we barely even saw them. First few episodes, it was all Johnny and Danny. And yeah, you saw their kids, and we saw the younger generation, but they didn't give us full episodes of these characters. It was still Johnny and Danny's gig. And for people who are fans of that franchise, you appreciate that. You're not trying to cheap out. You're not pulling a fast one on us. We didn't tune in to see these kids we don't know anything about. But guess what? By season 3, you've got us. You've hooked us. We understand that Danny is this and that Johnny is that, and these kids who have come up with them, whether it's their own personal children or kids that they teach in the dojos, we've grown to like these characters, or we've grown to hate some of these characters, which is what you want, right? We have feelings for these characters. So now, if an episode deals with 1 or 2 of these characters, and we don't see Johnny and we don't see Danny, we're not going to lose our shit. You know what I'm saying? So that series has been I was so impressed with that. And it was coming out around the same time as I think the Star Wars nonsense was coming out. I'm like, how could they not? It's like, oh my God. can you not see what they just did there? And they did it with, and they were successful about it. They started off on YouTube Red, man, and it was a great idea. And they reinvigorated a franchise. They brought the old fans back, and the old fans brought their kids, and they all sat and watched it together, and they all enjoyed it together. Now, it's not for everybody, but I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of that series. And they kept tapping back into the canon. They kept tapping back, pulling in characters from the other movies, the villains from the other movies. And we all wonder what happened to that person. I wonder what happened to that person. Well, we're going to find out. They bring them in. That last season was great, where you had all the villains in it from all the Karate Kid movies. Fantastic. I was so impressed. And now, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's been little, advertisements. They are combining the Karate Kid proper, which is, the story of Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence. They're combining that with the Karate Kid series with Jackie Chan. And they've already announced that in 2025, there's going to be a new Karate Kid movie combining the two universes, so the Danny universe, and I think Mr. Han was his name, I think, and the Jackie Chan are coming together. Why not? Why the hell not, right? And I just hope Jaden Smith doesn't come back. So I was not a fan of him, but I think Will Smith is a producer on it, so I wouldn't be surprised if his son makes an appearance. But they did it right, guys. They did it right. All right. So, anyways. That's it, guys. I think I'm done. I think I pretty much said what I want to say. I think it's a bunch of malarkey that people are accusing OG comic fans, all of us, of being, anti-female characters. That is such a bunch of nonsense. Like you, I love all these characters so long as they're written properly. And as Dave said, so long as they're truthfully depicted in these films. And the last thing we want to see are our beloved male characters, like the Silver Surfer, like Taskmaster, taken and bastardized and changed and turned into a girl to suit some political agenda, to fill a quota box. You just ruined a character. You just ruined another character. Great. Ruin another character. It is frustrating. So frustrating. Anyways, guys, if you didn't have a chance to chat with us here today, I would like to hear what you think about that. And you can do so down in the comment section below. Down there, you can give me your 2 cents worth. What do you think about gender swapping? And you know what? Who are some of your favorite female characters that you like to read about? I already said a few of mine. Many of the X-Men female characters are fantastic. Again, Jean Grey and Rogue. Someone mentioned Storm. I love Storm. I love Storm in the 80s. They're Mohawk, man. I love that. I just loved all that. Elektra's on there too, and there's Tigra there too. I love that. She-Hulk. Give me a good female superhero, I'll watch that story. I'll read that story. I'll go to the movie and I'll buy a ticket. You give me a crappy story, I ain't there. Same goes for Star Wars. You give me a great female Jedi story, I'm right there. You shove garbage down my throat, I ain't gonna support. I'll do it. I'll watch it once, maybe twice, and I'm done. I'm tapped out of Star Wars. Ahsoka, I just tapped right out. Anyways, I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole. Guys, thanks very much. Listen, if you are a fan of comic books and comic book movies and that sort of things, I hope you like this channel. Hope you can participate in our chat next time. Come on by every Tuesday, either 8:30 or 9. I'm not sure where I'm going to go. Probably 8:30. Hit that notification bell. Hit the subscribe button so you can also participate next time I come along. Until next time, guys, you take care. Have a fantastic night, and we'll see you again in about a week. Bye for now.